Well, it was the site of my first date. In fact, a double date with a schoolmate called Graham and two girls called Susan and Gillian, possibly.
This is my wife, Sue. We've been married a fairly long time, and it even extends to doing some of our courting and sparking in the back row of the Odeon.
Yes, it was an entirely unsatisfactory experience on every level.
I don't remember who they were or what film we saw. It all seemed a blur, especially at the time. But yes, I did, and we probably went to see films like Bambi just so we can be in a dark place together, just so no one would see us.
I think I was probably too shy for that sort of thing in public.
Well, the cinema's built, you've got the exit at the bottom where Pat lived 2 doors away from the downstairs, bottom of these steps. There was an exit there, was a fire exit. So when you had the cinema in front of you, so each side you had fire exits. One on that side, you could wedge the door open so that your friends could get in the back door once the film had started without paying. So Saturday morning pictures, you could sneak out or something.
You only had to bang the door and it opened.
Yeah.
I know that, again, this is very trite, but young people accepted authority a lot more in those days, and so there really wasn't that much trouble. But I mean, if somebody was causing a problem, he would throw them out.
About 1960, there was 3 of us lads, Barry Glover, Alan Lawrence, myself, all suited and booted. Used to get our suits handmade up in Jefferson St Albans, which was the place to go. Had our girlfriends with us, and we're just about to pay for the tickets at the kiosk. And the manager came out of his office and he said, "Well, you're not coming in here, I know your sort." We said, "What do you mean our sort?" He said, "You're the sort that will come in and slash my seats, so you're not coming in." And the more we protested, the worse he got. And we didn't go into the Odeon then or for a long time afterwards.
You could go, if you had a boyfriend, your first date, you couldn't go in a pub. That wasn't the done thing. But you could go to the pictures. You were trusted to go to the pictures with an unknown boy. So your first date was usually go to the cinema.
Probably with a boyfriend on a very, very wet Saturday afternoon, and the only thing you could do was retreat to the cinema, and it was a double horror bill, and the 2 films were Night of the Living Dead and The Cars That Ate Paris. And The Cars That Ate Paris was a pretty bizarre film. I think it was made in Australia.
And people that went in the 2 and 9s were at the back stalls, and though the usherettes used to said, go along, and there were several aisles. It was quite cosy.
Everybody tried to sit at the back.
Yes, everybody, included us at that time.
But the most bizarre thing, apart from the films, was that in the interval, when the lights came on, it was apparent there was a load of people in the auditorium in fancy dress, and 2 of the guys, one was dressed as the Führer, Adolf Hitler, and the other was dressed as Noddy. And instead of the ice creams in the break, these 2 got up and did a dance in front of the whole auditorium, which is absolutely hilarious. I mean, it's, like you say, quite bizarre, but absolutely hilarious. And that was probably far better than the 2 films that we saw.
But it was one of the few places that you were allowed to smoke and nobody saw you. And well, you probably weren't allowed to smoke at my age, but that's where I learnt how to smoke at the age of tender age of 13.
We went to the cinema on treats and birthday outings throughout the 60s, and then by the sort of latter 60s, you're able to go by yourself.
There was 3 certificates. There was a U, which meant anybody could get in, and there was the A, which meant you had to be 16.
In those days, if you were about 12, you always wanted to see an A certificate film.
And then there was the H, which was for horror, where no child under 16 was present.
So we would be there. Anything that was worth seeing was at least an A certificate then.
Because quite honestly, and this is the truth, at that age, young men, 11, 12, 13 years old, we came to the cinema to see breasts.
I was still 11, and the greatest thrill was trying to get into a 14. And I thought it was a porno film, and it was the Blue Lagoon.
To go in, the eldest looking one, is to say, 6 shillings please, and the usher used to look at you and say, you're not 16, yes we are.
And you had to wait outside the cinema for someone to go in with, for an adult to go in with. It doesn't sound like a very good idea, does it, leaving lots of children waiting outside cinemas for adults to go in with. But all you had to do was get past the paying in point.
But the greatest thrill was actually getting in when I was only 10 and it was meant to be a 14.
See a couple coming along and you see them start on the steps. You say, can you take us in, mister? And finally you got somebody. I mean, how naive is this? So now the kid that you just refused comes in with a man and a woman. They can't possibly have children of your age, let alone 5 or 6 of you. And to compound matters, he would say, 2 1 and 9 and 6 1 shillings, please. And I mean, that cinched it, didn't he? But the law was obeyed, so you got in.
I just pretended I was the Italian cousin from Italy with my side pint.
I always knew I was strange, and my friends always knew I was strange because I was very interested in the films, much more than they were. And of course, Saturday nights at the Odeon meant taking a girl to the cinema. Now, I never took a girl to the cinema, but once I got lucky and a very pretty girl agreed to go to the cinema with me. And at the end of the evening, she told her friends she was very cross because I spent the entire time watching the film and didn't attempt to do anything to her.
I suppose it was, yes. Yes, I had girlfriends, but I mean, in those days, one was very discreet. It was a long time ago.
When I was with my boyfriend, who's now my husband, in the cinema, and there was nobody else sitting in the row that we were sitting in. And an older man came and sat next to me, which we thought was a bit strange, and then he started running his hand up and down my leg. So we moved, my husband went out and got somebody else in, nearly punched this guy, and anyway, off he went, he left. But what a cheeky, I couldn't believe that somebody would do that when you're in with a boyfriend or a partner anyway.